Hello, I'm Commander Rick Guile. I'm a 25-year veteran of the Navy. I spent much of my career flying helicopters in combat, logistics support, as well as search and rescue. Now retired from the Navy, I am an instructor at Everett High and I oversee the Navy Junior ROTC program here. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about Veterans Day. Veterans Day is upon us. This is the day we recognize and honor all those Americans who have served their nation in uniform. It's not to be confused with Memorial Day, when we remember all those Americans who gave the last full measure of devotion to their nation.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ready, colors. Ready, up, order. Colors. Ready. Up, right. Eight. Forward. March.
Ceremony we call Old Glory. Detail, march on.
Forward. March. Left, right. Left. Detail. Halt. Left. Face. Dress. Right. Dress. Ready. Front.
I am the flag of the United States of America. My name is Old Glory. I fly atop the world's tallest buildings. I stand watch in America's halls of justice. I fly majestically over great institutions of learning. I stand guard with the greatest military power in the world. Look up and see me.
Face.
I stand for peace, honor, truth, and justice. I stand for freedom. I am confident I am proud. When I am flown with my fellow banners, my head is a little higher, my colors a little truer. I am recognized all over the world. I am saluted. I am respected. I am loved, and I am feared. I have fought in every battle of every war for more than 200 years. Gettysburg, Shiloh, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, the beaches of Normandy, Okinawa, Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, and a score of places forgotten by all, except by those who were there with me. I was there. I led my soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I followed them. I watched over them. I was on a small hill on Iwo Jima. I was dirty, battle-worn, and tired. But my troops cheered me, and I was proud. I was at Ground Zero in New York City on September 11th as fanatics attacked America. I was raised from the ashes of once proud buildings by brave firefighters, heroes who risked their lives to save others, showing all that America, though bloodied, will never be beaten. Those who would destroy me cannot win, for I am the symbol of freedom, of one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have been burned, torn, and trampled on streets of countries I helped set free. It does not hurt, for I am invincible. I have been burned, torn, and trampled on the streets of my own country, and it hurts. But I shall overcome, for I am strong. I have slipped the surly bonds of earth, and from my vantage point on the moon, I stand watch over the uncharted frontiers of space. I have been a silent witness to all of America's finest hours, but my finest hour comes when I am torn into strips to be used as bandages for my wounded comrades on the field of battle, when I fly half-mast to honor my soldiers, and when I lie in the trembling arms of a grieving mother at the gravesite of her fallen son or daughter. I am proud. My name is Old Glory. Long may I wave. Dear God, long may I wave. Veterans Day. Many of you have family members who have worn our nation's uniform. I have a message from them. Remember those who have gone before you and earn what they have sacrificed for you. Those words taken by themselves will likely be forgotten before I'm finished today. So I'm going to reinforce them with a story. It's a story about two men, Jesse Brown and Tom Hudner. Their story exemplifies the words loyalty and sacrifice. Jesse Brown was born in 1926 in Mississippi, the son of a poor sharecropper. He grew up in a home that didn't have electricity, running water, or even an indoor toilet. As a young boy working in the fields, Jesse would look to the sky and dream of being a pilot. He refused to be denied his dream by a society that judged him by his color. He excelled both as an athlete and a student, graduating second in his high school class. Scholarships afforded him the opportunity of a college education. He enrolled at Ohio State, where there were less than 1% of the students were black. To afford that education, he also worked full night shifts loading boxcars. Through his long days, Jesse continued to dream of flying. In 1946, he was appointed a midshipman. He was undaunted by the prejudice he experienced even from the instructors at Ohio State. Finally, when he entered flight school in Pensacola, this courageous young pioneer was the only African American among 600 cadets. Despite continued prejudice and outright harassment by some instructors, in October 1948, Jesse Leroy Brown received his Navy Wings of Gold, like these, becoming the Navy's first black aviator. Now Thomas Hudner. Thomas was born in Massachusetts in 1924, the son of a successful Irish businessman. In school, Tom's grades were sufficient to qualify him for the Naval Academy, where he graduated in 1946. After serving time in Navy ships, Tom finally made his dream of flying come true, receiving his wings in 1949. A few months later, he joined Fighter Squadron 32 aboard the aircraft carrier USS Leyte. One of the pilots that Tom Hudner met upon joining Squadron VF-32 was Jesse Brown. The two became good friends. Living with Jesse on the USS Leyte and flying with him, Tom Hudner learned about Jesse's struggle to overcome racial prejudice to follow his dreams. His respect for Jesse grew. He also found Jesse to be a devoted husband and father. Waiting back home was his young wife, Daisy, and a year-old daughter, Pamela. Now, let's fast forward to December 4th, 1950, the Korean War. On that day, 8 F-4 Corsair fighter aircraft left the deck of the carrier. Each of the heavily armed fighters was piloted by a naval aviator rushing to defend comrades on the ground. At that moment, thousands of outnumbered Marines were fighting in the sub-zero temperatures of the Chosin Reservoir. The pilots were young, but all were dedicated brothers in arms who would risk their lives for the troops on the ground. Men they didn't even know, but defended because they were Americans at great risk. The 8 fighters flew inland, skimming above the snow of the rugged mountains of North Korea, just north of the Chosin Reservoir. Flying wingman for Ensign Jesse Brown that day was Tom Hudner. The 2 pilots had both shared a dream of flying, but on this day, that dream would be a nightmare. Jesse was flying his 20th combat mission. Everything seemed to be going smoothly when his voice on the radio announced to the other pilots, "I've been hit, I've lost oil pressure, I'm going in." Tom Hudner watched as his friend fought the controls of the wounded Corsair. The terrain was mountainous and the area was swarming with enemy soldiers. Even if Jesse landed his crippled aircraft successfully, they would need to move in fast to protect him with cover fire. The pilots held their breath, watched in horror as Jesse's aircraft slammed into the mountain. They could see Brown's shattered plane lying in ruins. They circled the spot, and suddenly Tom noticed the canopy was open, and Ensign Brown waved up at his wingman. He had survived the impact. One aircraft radioed for a rescue helicopter. The other pilots continued to circle to ensure the enemy didn't reach their comrade before the rescue crew. As they watched the surrounding terrain, they also kept an eye on Jesse Brown. Something was wrong. He was sitting up and waving, but he couldn't seem to get out of the cockpit. Then Tom Hudner noticed smoke rising from the nose of the wrecked Corsair. The plane appeared to be on the verge of erupting into flames that would have quickly engulfed the cockpit and his friend. Without a second thought, Hudner prepared to do the wrong thing because it was the right thing to do. "I'm going in," Tom radioed his commander. He had just decided to crash a perfectly good Navy fighter on a steep mountainside, controlled by the enemy. He didn't wait for approval. He just did it. The other pilots watched as Tom skillfully flew his Corsair to a wheels-up crash landing near his friend. Then he was out of the cockpit and running to the side of his brother. Jesse Brown was in horrible pain. Hudner could see that the buckled cockpit had pinned Jesse inside. Tom worked to free his friend from the wreckage, but to no avail. Jesse was still conscious and spoke from time to time, but it was apparent that he was very badly hurt. After a time, they could hear the rotors of the rescue helicopter arriving. The helo pilot, a young Marine lieutenant, brought over an axe. The two men frantically beat against the cockpit without any effect. The axe just bounced off the metal. It was getting dark. Time was running out. Jesse spoke less and was beginning to slip into unconsciousness. As the sun set over the cold mountain, the Marine pilot told Tom his helicopter was not equipped to fly at night, and they would have to leave soon. Everything they had done was fruitless. Tom Hudner heard Jess trying to say something and leaned in closer. He said, "If I don't make it, please tell Daisy I love her." Tom made a promise to his friend. Nothing more could be done. In the fading light, Tom looked once more into the cockpit of the Corsair. Jesse no longer spoke. He was gone. Tom Hudner had crashed his plane on a mountainside to rescue a friend, something the Navy was certainly going to frown on. In the end, it was for naught. The two pilots climbed aboard the helicopter and departed. Tom Hudner later said, "One of the worst things when something bad has happened to you is the feeling that you're alone." Just being there with him was worth the effort. To prevent the Navy from gaining access to the crash site, the Navy dispatched a flight of aircraft to the mountainside where they dropped napalm on the two crashed planes. It was the most dignified burial the men of Fighter Squadron 32 could afford their brother. As napalm blanketed the hillside, Jesse and his Corsair vanished into history, a hero we should never forget. Tom was flown back to the USS Leyte, where he was informed upon arrival that the ship's captain wanted to see him. Hudner was sure that he was about to be reprimanded for his actions. The captain listened to Tom's story of that day on the mountain and understood. Sometimes it takes more courage to do that which you know is right than to shrink from adversity. The captain recommended Tom Hudner for the Congressional Medal of Honor, our nation's highest award for bravery. 4 months later, President Harry Truman invited the Hudner family to the White House, where he presented the Medal of Honor to Tom. Attending the ceremony, standing quietly to the side, was a young mother. She smiled through her tears and hugged Tom Hudner. Tom had lived up to his promise and delivered the message, "Tell Daisy I love her." When Tom Hudner returned home, the city proclaimed Thomas Hudner Day and hosted a celebration. The citizens presented the young pilot with a check for $1,000, a considerable sum in 1951. Hudner didn't cash it. Instead, he endorsed it and sent it to Daisy Brown. He used the money to return to school. In 1972, the Navy christened a new destroyer, the USS Jesse L. Brown. It was the first U.S. Navy ship to be named for an African American. Both Daisy and Tom were there to see it. I chose this story because it's an example of the kinds of sacrifices American veterans have made and are still making today. They are the kind of Americans who are on watch all around the world this very moment for us. It also shows the bond between those of us who have worn our nation's uniform and how we only see each other as brothers and sisters, nothing else. Our America, this experiment in democracy, started over 2 centuries ago, will remain the land of the free and the home of the brave, only as long as we never run out of tough young Americans who are willing to look beyond their own self-interests and their comfortable lives and go into the darkest and most dangerous places on earth to hunt down those who would do us harm. That's called devotion. So on this coming Veterans Day, take some time to reflect on those who have gone before you. Those veterans who have paid a high price for the freedoms we all enjoy today. And remember those who have given the last full measure of devotion, who gave up all their tomorrows so that we may have ours. Live your life the best it can be. Earn what they have given you. So in the future, when historians sift through the records that were our lives, let us hope we are found worthy. Thank you for listening. God bless America.